churches cooperate like this. This is a great crowd. And I hope this great crowd is indicative of a warm future relationship on core issues like life and liberty. Now for Dr. Wood's statement. The Assemblies of God has over 3 million adherents in the United States, with over 120,000 adherents in Missouri alone. The Assemblies of God strongly objects. We strongly object to the recent federal ruling that mandates health insurance plans must cover contraceptives, including drugs that can cause abortions. The plan provides for a limited exception for religious employers. However, church-affiliated hospitals, colleges, and social services are not exempt. The Assemblies of God joins with many other religious leaders, including those present at this rally, representing many of the faith traditions in our state, including Baptists, Lutherans, Catholics, and others, in our strong objection to this attempt by the federal government to discriminate against persons of faith and against religious communities. This decision by the federal government violates personal conscience and religious freedom. Additionally, this intrusion by the federal government into religious rights granted under the First Amendment could have enormous negative implications for nonprofit organizations that function with religious beliefs and values. Our concern is that if this precedent holds, a door is open to the federal government to impose other onerous requirements and restrictions on church-related institutions. For example, if the government can require religious institutions to offer prescriptions that lead to abortions, what else will the government require religious institutions to do?
That's right!
Will the government consider itself as having the right to impose upon church-related colleges, universities, and other institutions a requirement that schools must alter their biblical commitment to student conduct or lose federal grants and loans? Well, evangelicals hold different views on contraception than the Catholic Church. Evangelicals realize the danger of establishing a precedent that leads to further and further encroachment by the government upon the First Amendment, which states that free exercise of religion shall not be prohibited. The Assemblies of God USA urges the Missouri General Assembly to enact legislation such as Senate Bill 749 and House Bill 1730, which will protect the religious liberties of Missouri citizens. No employer or employee should be required to pay for abortion drugs, contraceptives, or sterilization procedures. We urge bipartisan support for this legislation and prompt approval by Governor Jay Nixon. In this way, we can send a strong message to Congress that the state of Missouri intends to protect the religious liberties of its citizens and its institutions.
Thank you, Darren.
Our next speaker is Maggie Carner. Maggie is the Director of Life and Health Ministries for the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. Mrs. Carner leads Sanctity of Life programs for the Missouri Synod, and she is editor of Notes for Life, a quarterly electronic newsletter that offers perspective on a variety of life issues, including stem cell research and end-of-life concerns. Mrs. Carner serves on the board of the National Pro-Life Religious Council in Washington, D.C. Please welcome Mrs. Carner.
government to redefine what a church is. It says the church's work is only confined to the sanctuary, to our houses of worship. And for religious people, mercy is not confined to our houses of worship. It's not about caring for ourselves. It's about caring for others, those outside the walls of the sanctuary and in the most needful areas of our society. Just as an example, there are thousands of faith-based nonprofit hospitals all across our nation that grew out of this legacy. And historically, these religious people have shaped the very fabric of what our compassionate modern American healthcare system looks like today. So here's my point. Religious people have some street cred to bring to the table when we're talking about public health and the good of our society. Faith-based organizations, no matter what the denomination or the creed, have a long history and a vested interest in our society, and we have much to contribute in the future. We can be a valuable asset to the government as we help address the many needs in our society, but we can only do so if we're given the freedom to work within the confines of our deeply held beliefs. This anti-conscience mandate does not allow that. It strips us of the protection of the free exercise of our First Amendment religious rights. Remember, this debate is not about contraception. Nobody is advocating for denial of access. Nobody is threatening women's health. Nobody is outlawing anything for the general population. Rather, this debate is simply about us being forced to pay for products and services that are contrary to our religious beliefs.